Thank you, Nikita, for so clearly articulating why the time for investing in strengthening your fundraising capacity is now, and for articulating our commitment to investing in building the fundraising community for you. Moving forward, we'll now have our opening plenary, which will highlight pathways for the sector to invest in capacity building and institution strengthening, understanding what funders look for when they invest capital, and the path forward for large-scale systemic impact in India. The opening plenary is structured as a conversation, and we're delighted to welcome the special guests we have for this conversation. Please allow 2 minutes for me to introduce them. Mr. Ajay Piramal is one of the country's leading industrialists and philanthropists. His commitment to strengthening India's socio-economic capital shines through in his work with Piramal Foundation, which has impacted 143 million lives, working in partnership with governments in 25 states. In recognition of his contribution to strengthening the UK-India trade relationship, Mr. Piramal was conferred the Honorary Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2022. He has also served on the Harvard Business School's Board of Dean's Advisors from 2012 to 2014 and is the co-chair of the UK-India CEO Forum, while also serving as the president and chairman of the Anant National University. For the next phase of his life, his head and heart are focused on addressing India's intergenerational challenges and building India as an exemplar for the global south. Mr. Piramal will be in conversation with Mr. Amit Chandra, chairperson and founding member of Bain Capital's Mumbai office. He is one of India's leading philanthropists who, along with Archana Chandra, co-founded the A.T.E. Chandra Foundation, focusing on transformative social sector initiatives and pioneering the dialogue on investing in capacity building in the sector. Mr. Chandra also serves on the board of Give India and the Akansha Foundation and is a founder board member of Ashoka University. For ILSS, he's been a trusted friend, a guide, and a trusted advisor, and really has been guiding our work, particularly at the ILSS Center of Excellence for Fundraising, and we are very grateful to have both of you here. And may I please request you to join us on the stage.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much for that generous introduction. It's truly a pleasure and a privilege to be here today, not just because of all of you in the audience, but also because I have the pleasure of having a conversation with one of my closest friends and someone who I've deeply admired and learned an incredible amount from. Someone who's actually shaped my own philanthropic journey, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Ajay has, of course, been a very, very tall industrialist for many decades. I remember when I came back to India and started my first job in the bank that I eventually ran, Ajay was on our board. So I've had the ringside view of seeing how he has shaped multiple institutions, and we have served on boards of even Tata Sons, and I had the privilege of serving on his board many years, and seen how he's an incredible thought leader in shaping the modern industrial India that we see today. But I think what we know a little less about is how deep a thinker Ajay is about India's societal issues and about how to change them. The work that he has been doing via the Piramal Foundation is, I think, truly seminal. Aditya Natraj, another truly exceptional thought leader, someone who's inspired me a lot, has been his partner in this journey, and the Gandhi Fellowship is something that all of us are deeply grateful for how it has shaped the sector over the past many, many decades. Is something that Ajay and Aditya have worked together to bring in service of the nation. Ajay, at this point of time, and in the conversation we'll talk about, is working on perhaps his most ambitious project in his life, be it in philanthropy or industrial activity, which is to lift somewhere between 50 and 100 million Indians out of abject poverty. And so hopefully we will touch upon that as well. And what I really like about his work is his thinking is something that goes back 10, 20 years. A lot of it's shaped by the Bhagavad Gita. and is truly long-term in nature, is truly systemic. And it made me think and change how I was basically working in the philanthropic sector. And so hopefully we will bring some of that alive for the sake of, learnings for all of us. So thank you, Ajay, for doing this conversation, and thank you most of all for being such a wonderful friend. So Ajay, maybe starting off, the first issue I wanted to touch upon is that both of us have actually spent now, I've spent 3 decades and you a decade more, really taking high-stake investment decisions. We've been taught relentlessly to look at things like ROI, success from very well-defined horizons. But, what I've noticed is when you talk about philanthropy, when you talk about social change, you actually draw a lot from principles of the Bhagavad Gita. You talk about Seva Bhav. So help all of us maybe understand, does your business brain actually ever wrestle with your social brain? How and where do you push for hard metrics versus figuring where to act from a place of service and trust that all of us in the social sector are so used to acting from?
Thank you, Amit. I think you have been very generous in the opening comments. I just want to make one correction. You said I've been at it a decade more than you. It's almost 2 decades more, so please remember that. But, I find it actually sometimes very difficult to make a separation between a business brain and a brain which is of the heart, if you like, or ruled by the heart. Because you're not 2 individuals, you're just one individual. And that's why it's important that in our group, and you have been there at the board meeting which decided what is the purpose of our group. The purpose of our group which includes both business as well as philanthropy, is doing well and doing good and making a positive difference to the world around us by serving others. I think so it's important that whatever we do, even in our business, and you have noticed that, is that we have to do something which is good and makes a positive difference for the world around us. Why is it important, I believe? And you said whether it is the Gita you began with and said that how it's influenced me. But let's try and remember the beginning of the Gita. The Gita was taught in the midst of a battlefield. It was taught to somebody who was the best archer in the world, who was in his, like they say 28, 30, somewhere, a youth. So it was not meant to be taught that once you have given up your daily life and just going to go to the Himalayas and do something else, or starting to do good or to philanthropy later. It is a part of life. So we believe that whatever we do, we have to do good, we have to do well and good. So just as you said correctly, measuring ROI, measuring all metrics, hard metrics, is important for business. At the end of the day, we also measure as much in the philanthropy. Yes, it depends on what you define as impact. Do you define impact as just return of investment of the money you've invested? Or is a return of the time you spent, let's say, in raising school learning levels? And I'll give you an example. We had a board meeting, and we were working with government schools, working with the headmasters to see how we can improve the school learning levels in government public schools. We started this as an experiment first in Jhunjhunu in Rajasthan. And we always believe in impact. So we had an independent external agency come and look at, evaluate the impact that was done. After a first couple of years, the impact study was presented to the board. And I can say that it showed that there was no improvement. And this was a bit of a disappointment for our team. But fortunately at that time, one of the things which I believe, maybe I'll just add that, for all those people who are involved in giving or involved in the sector, I think it's as important to give as to go and see how the giving, or what is the benefit that you're doing, to see the people who are receiving it. Because that actually gives you a good sense. At least even in my business, we used to do market visits. So similarly, just do a visit to see what your customer feels. My own view, that is where the heart came in. I said that there is improvement taking place. And maybe the results are not showing now. And rather than discontinuing a program like this, we should continue with the program. And I think it was in the next year or in the next couple of years, we found improvements by the same agency who had done it before of 15 to 20% improvement in school learning levels. And all those of us who are involved in education would realize that improving such a significant improvement is not, at least I have not seen it. So again, it is, would you say it was hard? It was hard for the first 2 years. But I was just reading the story of Amazon. Would you think that Amazon is a successful organization today? Its market cap is only $2.5 trillion, which people like you, being in Bain, would understand better than us. Do you know that from 2003, for the first 10 years, Bain made no... Bain makes profit the day they invest, so it's not... Amazon made no profit for 9 years.
We have a no roasting rule. Huh?
So Amazon made no profit for 9 years. So was that a good decision at the end? Yes. So similarly, I think in everything that we do, yes, it may take time, and certain things, it's just what you measure, what is impact for you. What is important, you define that, and then you realize whether it's done or not.
So, you know, this point that you made is deeply profound, because I can tell you, I distinctly remember having a conversation with you and Aditya about this point almost about 10 or 15 years ago. And it made me change my own theory of change. Because at that point of time, I mean, and I completely respect the building of schools and running local initiatives, etc. But I remember discussing with you that the much more difficult thing is to change a system. And systems only change if one partners with governments. And that is often a 10 or a 20-year journey. And the example you made from the school in Jhunjhunu is that change is incremental, often will take much longer to see when you do that, but when it happens, you can see an elephant dance. And that was not intuitive to people like me who were essentially control freaks and trying to work on building a system of 20 schools or a few, hospitals or whatever. But I remember that conversation made me change my own way of thinking, and today all the work that Archana and I do is systemic. You've done this not just with Pratham, that has grown a lot under your chairmanship, but the Gandhi Fellowship, and now, more importantly, even the work that's happening on the Poverty Alliance. Tell us a little bit about, this balance between long-term thinking, playing the long, hard game, versus the short-term orientation, because it is very tough. Donors demand, even CSR rule asks for, 3-year impact reports. Everyone wants to see change in a short period of time. How do you really play the long game?
So first of all, I think we need to appreciate that people who've done philanthropy in, whether it's building schools, hospitals, that was needed. But I think somewhere it was needed at a time when government was not really involved. At the time of independence, the average longevity in India was just 34 years. Literacy rates were 17%. And the funds which the government had to dispose or to spread on these things was limited. And therefore you needed schools and you needed colleges and you needed hospitals. But today that is not the case. Today the government has about $500 billion, I think, in all these areas which we are talking about, whether it's education, health, water, and all the social areas. But in spite of doing all this, you find that even 75 years after being independent, there are parts of India which have really not gone ahead. If you looked at the human development indices of the last 25% of the people, most of them are in the eastern India, most of them are in tribal area. It is really shameful, it is really sad. Out of 190 countries in human development index, if this was a separate country of 200 million people, we would rank 185 in that index. Today, if I look at therefore, there's something, if the government is willing to spend money, I think the government also, by and large, I have found that everybody wants to do something in government, unlike what many of us think. But there is something in the system that we can improvise. Can we do something where the system will be able to deliver? If the money is there, if the people are there, there's a need, why are we not getting it? And that is what I believe philanthropy and organizations should try and do. So look at, there's some innovation is required from what we've been doing for so many years, for so many centuries. If we can innovate in that, if we can innovate on scale. One of the things I find that very often when we are in foundations, we go and do something good and talk to them, to the government. But what have we done? We've shown 2,000 people improvement, 3,000 people. Please understand that the people in government, whether they are in our administrative service, whether they are in politics, they know the ground reality quite a lot. But if you can demonstrate to them with your innovation that it is possible to make change and positive change, and if you give government let's say the credit and you stay behind, I think they can work a lot. And I can say that I can give you 10 examples, I can give you 100 examples, we don't have the time, where if you spend 1 rupee, the government is willing to spend side by side with you 20 rupees, 30 rupees. So 20, 30 times is the multiple of what you are doing. So I think that is what will ultimately change India. And we have done it. I think I've spoken a lot now, but I'll give you specific examples, and it's not as long as you think also.
No, you should definitely share an example, but I completely agree with you. I mean, for example, therefore, when we designed our intervention on water security in rural India, inspired a lot by the thinking that had changed, after the conversations with you. We actually designed it as a partnership with governments, and today, for every 1 rupee we spend in Maharashtra, government spends 300. And I think that's the only way we've realized that governments always have money. In fact, even miraculously, all of us spend, 5 times the amount that we are spending today, we'll still be dwarfed by government spending. And so the most important thing is to make government spend more effective, efficient, targeted in the right way. So I completely agree. If you want to share an example, Ajay, please do so. I mean, Ajay, Aditya will also be talking, I'm sure, in his address about it, but I don't know whether everyone will have an opportunity to be in that. So if you want to share an example, please go ahead.
Okay, we just talked about the we talked about the Junjunu experiment in Gandhi Fellowship. Let me just continue with that. We worked in Rajasthan to improve the school learning levels of public schools in all of Rajasthan. We worked for a few years with a limited number, one Gandhi fellow, and I'm glad to see that some of them are here too and part of this organization. How many are you here? Are there many? Or yeah, I can see 3 or 4 hands at least, if not more, because the lights. Okay, so anyway, what we found is that after working for a few years with headmasters and one fellow whose age, her age could be anywhere 20, 25 max, would work with headmasters of government schools. One of them would work with 5 such schools. At the end of it, by the National Assessment Survey, the district that we worked in, Junjunu, where we started, is the #1 district in assessment of school learning levels. Rajasthan is the second most improved in the country. And this is just one example. So it's possible to do within. And how much was our investment? Nothing much. But compared to what the government did, just in your case, 300, I didn't want to give that number because people would be shocked, but I'm glad you have done it.
No, I know the leverage numbers are pretty crazy. So, yeah, no, and one knows that getting a public school system to work right, as opposed to creating an alternative system via the social sector, has profound implications for communities. And whenever I've spent time in Junjunu, I've seen that when a family starts sending their kid back to the public system, which is what's happened in many districts across Rajasthan, they actually start saving money, which they can use for other important needs of the family. And so they're getting quality education, and it is a great financial benefit. So Ajay, you touched upon something really important, and this has been my observation as well, looking at the journey of the foundation. That none of this is really possible without having really exceptional people, whether it's that fellow who is working with headmistresses at the grassroots level, or it's exceptional leaders like Aditya. And if I look at the team below Aditya as well, I can safely say, you and I have both been on boards of some of India's largest companies, that team could easily run a top 100 company in the country, right? Help us understand. I mean, I keep hearing this with organizations we've been involved with, that there's truly a talent deficit in the social sector. How is it that you've been able to attract exceptional people, retain them for long periods of time? What role does compensation play? What role does aspiration play? And what will it take to bring in much more talent and upgrade the quality of what's there for us to realize the Viksit Bharat goals?
I think it's a really important question you've raised, and I want to just appreciate the work that you and Archana via your ATE Foundation are doing in actually supporting capacity building and talent. Regretfully, people don't appreciate, even when you get CSR and especially global funds, they don't understand. They think that the overhead costs must be kept minimal. But this is overhead, which is absolutely important. I mean, in business, we keep saying it's people who make the difference. And one distinguishes from the others only the quality of people. Why is it different in any philanthropic activity? So first of all, appreciation that it is people like you all who are present here will make the difference. It's not going to be, I mean, people can give money, but if you don't know how to utilize that money correctly. So I think that is important. Second thing, what we are doing really in the Gandhi Fellowship is to improve the capacity of people in this. You know, we started in 2008, there were 11 people. Our single inspiration was what Swami Vivekananda said in the late 1800s, in the 19th century, that give me 1,000 Indians, young, youthful people, and I will change the country. We believe that was the starting point of this. We started with 10, and today we are doing 500 people every year who are spending 2 years with us, where we give them an exposure to what is happening in real rural India and give them a lot of leadership training. The other thing that we believe is that unless and until you do personal transformation, you cannot do systemic transformation. And therefore, we have now a program which is called CBCT, or the Compassion-Based Cognitive Training, where we have a program which is how you can build compassion. Compassion is no longer a thing that you get when you are born or through your genes, but it can be learned. It's a program with the Dalai Lama has done with Emory Institute for maybe 25 years, but we are probably the largest users. We are training about 50,000 government middle-level people on it to build capacity. But to attract capacity, again, in our sector, is that if people go and see, people should go and, that's what I say, all of us here should go and see what's happening in the field. When you get that feeling that, yes, I'm making a difference with what I'm living, and generally I find that many people who have had a successful career at some stage want to change to the next career, like you and I am trying to do it now. But the thing is, at that time you realize that you've made enough, but there's something more, that the joy that this gives you is important. So we only select people who have passion. Let me tell you, our salaries are nowhere near what many of the other organizations in this space, particularly the global organizations, want to give to their people, because we believe that unless money is not the only thing, you need somebody who has passion, somebody who has karuna, and somebody who's willing to work hard. Then you can get and attract people. Just as a serious thing, I'm often reminded by Aditya and team that in his finance group alone, which has a few people, there are six members, rank holders of the CA Institute. I don't have that in our business.
Awesome. Ajay, something we talked about a little earlier was you raised this point about aspirational districts, 119 of them. And you seem to be probably the only organization I know which has been able to work at real scale in India's aspirational districts. I hear this, I do a lot of my work with governments, and I hear your name being, mentioned as most frequently as a partner of choice when it comes to work in aspirational districts. And these are really difficult places to work in. I mean, we travel to some of these because of the work we do in water and agriculture, and even just reaching there is difficult. You've got people stationed there. Tell us what, for NGOs, for organizations, for foundations who aspire to work in this 200 million universe, which if was ranked by itself would truly be in the bottom decile of humanity. If they have to get 2 or 3 things right to be able to move the needle in those difficult terrains, what do you think are those 2 or 3 things that are really needed?
First of all, I think we must appreciate how the Aspirational Districts program was started by the government. I think the Honorable Prime Minister realized in 2016 that these are the parts which nobody were totally neglected. It was neglected in the sense it was a forgotten part of India. I'll just give you tribal districts, the example of tribal districts which are formed part of, most of them are in the aspirational case. I remember a meeting with our Honorable President. She is a tribal from a district in Orissa. And we were just talking about what we are doing for tribals in health. And she made a very, very, very touching point. She was president at the age of 64. And she said that at 64, she was the oldest living person of her village. It is significant. I mean, the average, the longevity between an average Indian and a person in the tribal areas is 11 years. How can you have, is that a equitable society? It's not. So we have to work towards that. Anyway, the tribal, knowing of the large-scale work we were doing across the country, when the Aspirational District program was highlighted by the Prime Minister, he actually called me and said that you have to work in all of these. It's a really difficult place. So, and I'm happy that in the first couple of years later, again the government and NITI did a assessment of education, the change in education, the change in health in these tribal districts. So out of the top 5 best performing districts in education, in aspirational districts, 4 of them were where we were working our foundation. And in health, out of the top 10, we were in 3 or 4 of them again. So there is a difference possible. And you know what I have found in our foundation, coming to what we do? We don't have enough knowledge of specifics of every area. Like you talked about water, and we are working together in water. Now, we don't know the technical things of water. What is our foundation doing is that we can help in understanding, because we've studied what the governments, what the systems are there, what are the changes possible. And because of our relationships with people and the way we believe in Seva Bhav, which I'll come to a little later, I think we can help all the deep knowledge that you have to put it into practice on a larger scale and convince government to go, expand further. So what I find is that some of the NGOs, we work with more than, yours is a big NGO, it's not but I'm saying we work with so many other NGOs, more than 1,100 NGOs in the country, which are doing really good work, but it is limited because it's difficult for them to convince governments is difficult because their budgets are limited. That's where we come and help them. We don't take credit, we let them do the work, but continue so that they can, then they can amplify their work. So we do this with the Gates Foundation, which is the largest foundation, when they give you all the know-how, but yet how we can, let's say, in management terms, actually distribute it and take advantage of it in the world. So what I would ask NGOs to do is to work together. I think it has to be a collaborative. The challenges in our country cannot be solved by one person, one organization. It can't be solved by the government, we've seen. It can't be solved alone with the largest foundations, whether it's Gates, whether it's Tata's, whether it's Chandra's. But together, I think we can make a difference.
That's so well said, Ajay. And I don't know why we don't collaborate more in the sector. I mean, this is something I remember Archana and I ran a collaborative challenge maybe a decade ago, and it was unrestricted grants for people who had ideas for collaboration, and we only got one proposal. So I agree with you. I think it's only possible if you collaborate, and you talked about it. I mean, I think we've realized that, for example, the best way to do work in Rajasthan is to partner with you, and and I think what we will probably do together in Rajasthan is more than what all our rest of our work in 11 states would be annually. So collaboratives can be incredibly powerful. We have 23 minutes left. I have 3 questions that I want to cover. So I'm going to try to cover them very quickly with your approval. The first is on governance. You and I have both seen how a strong board with good intent can actually rescue an organization. We've been involved in such situations. I've also seen you and I share the same mentor, the late Mr. Waghul, who was a great mentor to many people in the social sector as well. Tell us a little bit about what your views are on using boards effectively and using mentors effectively to really drive change.
So I think if you talk about the Gita teaches you that if you have to be a good devotee, you must be, humility is one of the first things. So to be able to seek advice, you have to be humble. Now, Mr. Waghul, your mentor, mine, and this is when I learned with him, I succeeded him. He was the founder, president of Pratham, but very soon I think he wanted me to take over. So I took over Pratham. So what did I learn from Pratham, which I still do implement now? One is, the first thing is that you need people with passion, and you don't pay them market prices. The most highly qualified people, just to let you know, I'll pitch in for Aditya, who runs our CEO. He is a CA, he is an MBA from INSEAD, he was a partner in KPMG, but I think we must have given him 1/10 the salary, I don't know what it was, but something like that. So we have to have people with passion who are committed to it, and you're not joining it because they want to have a career, just to support it. Second thing, again, the innovation, that you have to do innovation because solutions have not been found in India for so many years, whatever I said earlier. The third thing he said is to work innovation on scale. The fourth is to work with government. So all this was one of the bases for our foundation. Obviously, we added something more, which I will speak next. But the other mentor, which both of us share in common, is Nitin Noria, who was the dean of the Harvard Business School. His one statement that the leader's job is to see that how do you have a personal dream to make it a public reality. So that is our personal dream in the foundation. How do we make it a reality? So that's the second thing. Third thing I just want to add, I think it's really important, which is what I have learned from what the Prime Minister says. Prime Minister has said that India has a lot of soft power. Now you see the way the yoga is spreading, or where we recognize that the International Yoga Day is on the 21st of June. I think there is so much more that we can learn from India, and he talks about it, but we are also trying to talk about it and implement it, is the concept of Seva Bhav. Seva Bhav is so unique to India. And you have met many global philanthropists, Amit. I have also met them. I have also met many philanthropists in India. Very often philanthropists say that I'm at this high level and I have to give to somebody who is at a much lower level, so I just give him, ठीक है उसको दे दिया. But the concept of Seva Bhav is that when you give with, if I say in Hindi, Karuna, and I give with love. Karuna is compassion, but I think it's a little deeper meaning. So the example is when I give, like when a mother is feeding a child, this is a newborn baby. Doesn't the mother have difficulties? You spend nights and you have to do all the things which are inconvenient, but the mother gives it with love, the mother gives it with karuna, and the mother gives it with joy. I think that is what we in our philanthropy must understand and appreciate. The day you do that, that is when you will find that joy which is above anything else. I mean, I have been in business for a long time. You will, as I said, a couple of decades before you. But I still find that...
More hair, Ajay.
That is not this thing, that was the genes. But anyway, the point is that when you lost my...
Seva Bhav.
You distracted me.
Seva Bhav.
Because I didn't want to say that you look still more handsome, but then that's another... Anyway, so the point is that I think when you do that, that makes the difference. And that is India's contribution. I don't think anybody appreciates this in the world. And believe me, when I talk now to global people, I think this is the message that we should send. And they start appreciating it.
Thank you, Ajay. Ajay, we'll spend maybe 1 to 2 minutes on 2 topics. I want to leave some time for people to engage with you. One is, I've really admired that I've seen you deal with challenges in your life. Personal, professional. Sometimes people only see the headlines. I've had a ringside view, and I've seen ups, I've seen downs, and I've seen great ups again. How should NGOs treat failure? How should they treat setbacks?
If there is, I mean, you have so many people here. If there's one person who can put up their hands and say that they have not had any failure or any disappointments in their life, I want to give them a medal, because I haven't met anybody. We all heard the Ramayana. We've all heard stories from the Mahabharata. Ram had more difficulties than any human being could have had. And he was the Lord, and yet he gave that as an example. Krishna had more difficulties than anybody else still. So this is life. If somebody says that I've never had this thing, that is wrong. But the way to get out is, I think we keep trying, and ultimately, I believe that we will be successful somewhere. And that joy of, if you had everything easy, then there's no fun in life. You have to have the ups and the downs. Then only does the sea sometimes remain calm, but there will be waves, it will go up, there will be down.
Great, terrific. My last question, Ajay. There are lots of people here who are fundraisers, and there are lots of people here who are donors. You do something pretty remarkable. I have a lot of respect for fundraising people. I have a lot of respect for donors. It is really difficult to be a fundraiser. I really admire people who are fundraisers because often they have to deal with a lot of egos. They have to deal with a lot of no's. You have to kiss many frogs to get one of them to turn into a prince or a princess, right? You're an incredibly successful man. At your age, you know, I'm not saying you're 2 decades away from me, but you look younger. I've seen, even as recently as a few, months ago, I've gone on road shows with you trying to raise money for the work that you do, right? You don't need to do it. You are like everybody else in the audience, a fundraiser for the work that you do, right? What makes you get up in the morning and go, and I know many of those, like everybody else, many of those answers are no's. It's just that people may be more polite to you. What makes you want to be that fundraiser for that tribal woman that you talked about?
Because she's a tribal woman, that's why I want to do it for her. I think if we realize what is the larger purpose, first of all, again coming to the Gita, I believe our role is to go and do the work is important, the process is important, the results will follow. And I believe that all of us who are here doing fundraising are doing something not for our benefit. It is for the larger good. Person like me who believes, as again I do, as a devotee, that is my role, is to do it. I mean, tell me who has not been, all of them, everybody has had to have rejections. The founder of ISKCON, Prabhupada, at 69 years, went to the US. He was thrown out so many times. He was insulted so many times. But ultimately, see what it is today. So I think if the purpose is large, maybe you'll not get there right. You are doing your work, then leave it. Results will follow.
Thank you, Ajay. We have 12 minutes left. Anu, can we take a few questions? Yeah, thank you. But Ajay, you are such a delight to have a conversation with. Mostly when we are alone, I'm generally, toasting you and you're roasting me. So this is always fun. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, first of all, for being a friend. Thank you for being an inspiration. And thank you so much for the work you do.
No, Amit, as you know, that I am now, since he has plugged so much for me, I have to say the truth. The amount of time, the amount of mind space, and the amount of contribution that Amit and Archana do is actually an inspiration for me and for all of us. All throughout, he's been a very successful investor, and I know what more he could do in his investing business, but this is what he does, and it's people like you who show me that it's more fun to do philanthropy than work.
Thank you, Ajay. That's kind of you. We have some mics in the audience, and my request would be keep your question really short.
Yeah.
Do not talk about your organization, please. Just introduce yourself, name of organization, and your question. That's it, yeah.
Name is also not important. Question is important.
Yeah, sure, thanks.
So, I'm talking about rural India, like Mr. Ajay Piramal said. I was working in healthcare sector, digital healthcare sector, like Mr. Koita is also doing. So, I found that 14% of infantile mortality was there in rural Bihar, because it is the most dense population. Then there is another case like Arunachal Pradesh, which is again least dense population. So both the places we don't have adequate number of healthcare professionals. Still the number has come down from 14 to 4%. Still my heart cries that how to handle. despite that we have digital healthcare solutions, but it is still not reaching the right audience. I have tried my best with the bureaucrats.
What's your question?
That how to handle this rural healthcare problem.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, Ajay, you want to just...
So you've taken the example of Bihar. Let me talk about Bihar. Bihar in terms of all social indicators is the worst. Literally, it's sad, but it is. Sometimes I wonder, Bihar was the most developed part of the India of world, I would say. That's where Buddhism started. That's where Mahavir was born. That's where the whole Sikh Guru started over there. And that's where Sita was her home, this thing. And yet it's so bad. So that's another story. But yeah, we have been actually worked. Again, we demonstrated too in Bihar. And we can spend more time in detail afterwards. Aditya will brief you. But just to say, we worked in one district in Bihar out of 39. We demonstrated how through digital, through the whole concept of Seva Bhav, taking right from the A&M from the Asha worker right up to the hospitals. Today, Bihar is the most improved state in terms of health delivery, from rural to the state. And there is you go to I was recently there, in the Chief Minister's office, they have the entire command and control center where all the government hospitals are connected, and on a real-time basis, they can see what is happening. And there's been a significant improvement. So
yeah,
it's possible to do, and I would encourage you to go to Bihar, and Aditya and some of our colleagues are here. Will give you in detail because Amit has given me 1 minute to answer.
Yeah. No, I want to make sure other people, but the Bihar, what you've done in Bihar is exceptional, should be a case study. I know UP government now wants to replicate it.
Actually, Bihar, UP is doing it, Chhattisgarh has seen it, and how much money we spent in Bihar. I think we spent over these years 15 crores totally. Bihar government has added immediately 300 crores. They are starting a public health service, just like you have for education and all, where I think it's about 2,000 crores. UP seeing that is saying that we will do it, you just do it for one district, 3-4 crores. So that's the multiplier that we are talking about. And I think Chhattisgarh is doing it, Assam, so several states.
Yeah, no, it should be a case study. We've got both Rekha and Rizwan here. We should actually get them involved in this as well. Questions? Yeah, we've got one here. Oh, sorry, there's a lady in the back row with a mic. Yeah.
First of all, Mr. Piramal.
I can't see you.
The light is...
Okay. Okay, Mr. Piramal.
To turn all the lights on and then to put these
I
off.
think they've seen enough of us.
Yeah, exactly. Just put these off and put the
So
audience
first of
lights.
all, a lot of appreciation for the length and breadth of work in public health, especially in Rajasthan. In short, I come from a background of public health, and within that, the space of mental health, substance use, and alcohol. Largely, that's the space from where I come. We have been trying to work in Rajasthan in the public schools to build their capacity to work with neurodivergent children. These are called children with special needs. And while people agree to it, and we work with compassion, I'm a social worker by profession and qualified to do that, but there is always a systemic challenge. So I was wondering whether I could connect with your team later, or there is something small and good. We are only planning to pilot it in Kishangarh Bas in Alwar district. Schools have been identified. There is usually when we do a similar project.
Thanks,
in
ma'am.
urban
I would
areas.
suggest, thank you. I think he's got the point.
So I think
even I can answer that.
We
for
have
you.
to.
I've seen the special ed work that you do in Rajasthan. It's
Yeah,
spectacular. You should connect with the team. Yeah.
So yeah, please connect with one of our team here. They will be able to. Yeah.
Someone else has a mic. The lady in the front row. Yeah. Dhaval. Yeah. Can you pass it? Oh,
Hello.
sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. inspiring always to listen to you. I'm Dr. Smriti Pahwa from Arogya World. The mission is NCD's diabetes prevention. My question is, and my business is Scale Up. My question is, given the digital revolution that is happening and the mobile penetration and how people are consuming content, just wanted your reflections on how the systems are tuning into this digital, whether it is fundraising or communication, this thing, and how the population or the community, so basically the push-pull side of it, what has been your experience? Are we ready for it? Are we embracing it? Especially the soft side of India that we have, which I think we have a unique opportunity. So just wanted to understand this thing.
Your question is in terms of using digital media for fundraising or for driving change?
For everything.
So I don't know about fundraising because we've not done that digitally, but yes, driving change, a lot of it is happening. Actually, we have got some significant work which is being done in digital and AI. And I think in the AI Summit, probably we'll be talking about it. One is, how do we see that school girls, after the age of 8, you have free education till 8. And then there's scholarships. But unfortunately, government gives it. These scholarships, let's just say that out of the amount given by government in a year, 40% goes unreturned because people don't get scholarships. So we've now got a solution just like DigiVriti for that. Second thing is, for instance, we have now got an AI solution where we are trying it out. The power is really in the panchayats, but the panchayats have so many areas, they don't have enough knowledge, and communities are not fully aware of it. So we were making them aware. Hopefully, this is an experiment which will be taken all over the country. I think we have shown it in about 10,000 people and maybe more also. I don't remember because every day the number goes up. But so yeah, we are using it to the maximum. Because India, please remember, the DPI is the best in the world. So we are taking advantage.
Excellent. Dhawal had a question. Can you, sorry, go ahead.
Ajay, thanks. I think quite inspiring. A lot of values you talked about, Karuna, Seva Bhav, everything resonated very well. You said something which was of deep interest to, I think, the entire house who's sitting here, all our fundraisers. ILSS is doing a great job, Amit is doing a great job, but the set of problems we have collectively is immense. The scale is immense. And you said something which is 1:20, 1:30, leveraging government resources and so on. But this world needs many more catalysts like these fundraisers are sitting. And it's not a career of choice for many of these here. How do we really make it career of choice? And how do we really back it up more so that these problems will get solved on its own to hold other leverages like 1:30, 1:20, or Viksit Bharat, what we said? I think that's what probably I would be interested to know if you want to spend some minutes on. Thank you.
The career of choice is only for people, I think we have to make them do, it's a much bigger role than what you have done in the past. I think, how do we make them sensitive to that, to expose them to real, and that's what I see, that sometimes you should just organize field visits to people. Spend 3 or 4 days who are there, go to areas where you will find work, where you will meet beneficiaries. That is when you feel that yes, what you will do is something better than what you can do in your previous career if you want to do it. And that becomes an area of choice. That's what I feel personally. It is the human, everybody at the end of the day wants to connect with a human and make a difference.
Lovely.
According to, again, since I keep talking, all of us, the only dharma of a human life is to love. And that is what you have to get them, invoke in them. Remind them we have forgotten it in this world. Yeah.
No, and that's true. I mean, every faith teaches us that. You talked about Gita, I follow Sikhism. Even in Sikhism, we say Kirat Kar, Vanshak or Sarbat da Bhala. I mean, every faith I've known and read of, the principles are the same. But for some reason, I think we've forgotten that. Anu, we have time for one more question or one last question? Yeah, the lady there. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Prerna Kaushik and I run an organization called Anant Education Trust. My question is with respect to the discussion about systemic intervention. It often gets discussed and organizations which are not working with the government or are working in depth are often looked at as alternative solutions. My dilemma comes from the fact that when we define quality education, what do we mean? And although there must be improvement in learning levels, and I agree that from a reading level 0 to 1 is a significant growth, but is that enough? And does that ultimately lead to life outcomes? Because if it doesn't, then the people in positions of power stay in positions of power. And if not, how can we make it an and question rather than an or question, wherein organizations working in depth and those working in scale can come together to find solutions which can be more contextualized and relevant?
So as I said, organizations, foundations like us are always happy to work with people who've got in-depth, because there's no way we can be in-depth in all subjects. And if you all are in-depth, connect with us or connect with anybody else. You'll get all the credit. We don't even want the credit. But don't think that you're going to make an alternative system to government. You know, this is where I feel the arrogance of all of us NGOs. We know better than the government. You don't. They have worked their life there. We have worked a few years.
Yeah, great point. And I think that's a good note to end on. Ajay, thank you for my takeaways. I think you've left probably everybody in the room with some takeaways, maybe a dozen in some cases and a few in others. But as always, a lot of insights from you. Deeply grateful. People don't know that you broke your holiday and you were away from your grandkids to be here. Really, really grateful for that, and thank you for your insights. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit, as always. You are the inspiration for all of us.